Milliken joins the Bassmaster Century Club.
There are about a dozen anglers fighting for their Bassmaster Elite Series careers right now, going into the last term of the series in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And Ben Milliken is one of those anglers. After a great rookie season, making the Classic, being in contention for some wins, top tens, he's having a much tougher season. And if Ben can't have a really good tournament across his season, and about 10 or so other anglers won't be coming back in 2026. So that's going to set up the stage. There's a lot of things. We have an AOI race at the top between Johnston and Trey McKinney. We've got the Classic cut line where anglers are jockeying to get into position to make the 2026 Classic. We've got Rookie of the Year battles, and we've got battles at the bottom, people trying to stay alive. All that, so much more. So here's kind of the breakdown and the list of the anglers kind of fighting for it. Published by Bassmaster and the TNZ podcast, right? Ben Milliken is in 77th place. He needs to get up to 71st. That's about a 15-point climb. So he basically has to surpass about 5 or 6 anglers and make up 15-plus points and get into that 71, 70th or above in this last tournament, or he will not requalify for the 2026 season unless maybe there's some people that drop out or some other things happen. But under his own merits and what he can control, he needs to climb up. Now, Alex Weatherall, he's like another 20 points back at 79. So there's a pretty big gap between Milliken and Weatherall. And then when you start dropping below Paul Weatherall, Mueller, Latuso, guys like that, sadly, Matty Wong, a favorite guest of the channel, most of these guys, their fate is cemented. They are almost certainly not requalifying for 2026 through their current Elite Series season. Now, La Crosse has a win and you're in the Classic, right? So if any of these anglers that can win can make next year's Classic, but they won't necessarily requalify for the Elites. Now, all of them have the opportunity to fish the EQs if they want, to also get back in the top 10 in the EQs. They're going to have a 3-event series with 100 other open guys. So that is an option. I'm sure we'll see some of these guys taking that route. Now, on the Ben Milliken thing, before we get into the fantasy fishing, I'm not saying Ben's not trying, but I think Ben's somewhat okay with not requalifying. I think he had a lot of he wanted to make it to the top. He wanted to fish at the top. And if you've seen some of his videos, I think his heart is not maybe in it. He maybe wants to spend more time with his family, spend more time creating videos, doing more fun stuff, fishing with friends. So I think he's kind of taken this go big or go home mantra about halfway through the season where he's fishing for top tens and wins. And that's what's resulting in some of these kind of below middle of the pack finishes that's put him in this position. So I think Ben's okay. And I'm not saying Ben's not going to try at La Crosse, but if Ben has a win or a top 10, I think he'll be fine about requalifying, but I think he'll also be at peace if he doesn't. So I think Ben has a master plan and he knows what he's doing. I think he'll go for it here in La Crosse, and I think it'll be exciting to watch and fun to follow along. So let's get into La Crosse. Lots of things to unpack here, but before we do that, let's talk about the people that are won prizes in the most recent Beat HellaBass group. This week, T. Wallace, winner, St. Clair, put a nice event together. I'll reach out to you very soon, T. Wallace, to get your Omnia Pro prize. And then in Drain the Lake, Jay Gilbert with a really solid tournament, bringing home the win at Lake St. Clair. I'll also be reaching out to you. We've got Warren, who has just recently won at 10 Killers, put himself in a good position, but he's hanging on to a precarious 10-point lead over General Parodic and a couple other people definitely within. So if Warren's an Omnia Pro owner and he wins, or anybody else in the top 3, 4, 5 that's within shouting distance, if they have Omnia Pro at the time when La Crosse closes and I award them the winner, their $100 gift card will double into a $200 gift card to Omnia. Not too late to sign up. Any of you can sign up at a 50% discount using code HBPRO. It's a great feature. Lots of great packs. I love my Omnia Pro. We'll talk more about that. LA Rams fishing team. It's got the lead in the Drain the Lake. And also, 300 points seems like a lot, but with the double points bonuses, there's a lot of people here that can be fighting for that. So I encourage any of these people that are in the hunt to sign up for that Omnia Pro. Get it. It's worth the money regardless if you don't win, but you'll be pretty sad if you miss out on an extra $100 in the contingency prize for the year-end prize. So make sure you guys get signed up. As far as what is Omnia Pro, right? It's an add-on to an already free app and website at Omnia where you get improved benefits. And some of the things, you already get the free waypoint storage and you get the lake reports and all that kind of stuff, but you get the water temp and water clarity layers. You get the depth contours, the free navionics in the app on your phone. So whether you're shore fishing, kayak fishing, in the boat with somebody else, doing research on the fly at home, sitting on the couch while your wife's watching House Hunters or something like that, you can check it out. You get the weather layers. The 10% cash back is probably my favorite part. Anytime I make a purchase, I'm getting 10% back. So I can stack the code that's down in the description of this video. You can save 15% and then also get 10% back in points, which works out to be basically a 22.5% discount on almost everything at Omnia if you've got Pro and you use the HellaBass discount. You get an early head start on in-stock alerts, which is nice when you're trying to snipe cool baits like depth Sakamata shads and things like that. You get exclusive private sales, which is awesome. So you get some deep discounts on like some rods and reels and things like that that don't normally put on sale. And then free shipping, no minimum order. So I literally, if you want one spool line, 3 packs of worms, where most places you got to spend $50 to get free shipping. With this, you can get free shipping, no minimum order. So that's the advantage of Pro. If you haven't checked it out, the discount is going to go away at the end of the fan fishing season. So this is your last chance to use the code HBPRO. Enough about that. Let's talk about breaking down La Crosse. So La Crosse, Mississippi River, they're taking out a pool 8. They can fish pool 7, pool 8, and pool 9, right? And so if you're not familiar, at the top corner in the Black River, the pool 8, this is where they're going to take off of right here at Veterans Park. This is where it's going to get started. There'll be definitely anglers that fish in the Black River and make a tournament of that. Cody Meyer did that in the Open last year. This one of the spillways that can play here. Also, in the middle of the river, there's another set of spillways up here that can play, and we've seen Ottifo, and we've seen Brandon Lester make some hay up in these lakes up here. For those that remember my Bassmaster Open video, this is where I stuck my boat in the mud right here because I missed one of these channels. So, fun times. But you can lock up to pool 8, and you got Lake Onalaska, a bunch of river stretch here, a popular area. Now the locks can play a big role in this tournament. There was a lot of guys locked out on day 2 in both pool 7 and pool 9 that lost a lot of solid weights in the Open. So this is an interesting time of the year. Bar traffic's still going based on the river, tournament I fished last week, and this is going to play a factor. If you're kind of, if you're at the top of the AOI, do you risk it? Right? If you need to make a big jump, maybe you do risk it if you're safely in the Classic, or maybe if you're way out and you need to fish to win, maybe you lock up or lock down. But there's a lot of things to consider. If you're kind of in that safe zone where you just need to have a good tournament and not fall out of the Classic or not fall out of requalification, I think it would be hard pressed to leave pool 8. We can look at water quality layers here, and you can see that there's a fair amount of dinge. The Lake Onalaska is not as clean as it has been, and that from guys I was talking to down at the river, that it holds true there. So not saying there's no fish there, but that's not the crystal clear water we're used to. So from La Crosse, they can, navigate all this Goose Island water, which is a big part of the backwaters. You get down to the Stoddard area, which is a super popular area that always holds fish. The raft channel down at the bottom of the pool. And then you get into pool 9 and you got a river stretch, and you can get up into Minnesota Slough. And then if you really want to make the big run, you can get all the way down in some of these Big Lake and Lake Winneshiek, where there's a ton of water at 9, but it becomes a bit of a burden on your fishing day to make up that big of a run. That's your playing field, tons of water. La Crosse is a place that we're used to seeing big frog catches, super fun. Visually, this is going to be one of the best tournaments to watch all year, and I'm excited. So let's get into the picks, and then we'll do the pick 'em, and we'll finish with Drain the Lake and get you the final tiebreaker weight of the year. 85.8, not the greatest season, not the worst overall. The last couple tournaments have not been super kind to me, but they're doing okay. So we're going to take a few risks. So if you're in a position like me where you need to make a move, maybe some of these picks will resonate with you. We're not going to play it that safe this week. So let's get into the picks. I like to stay in bucket E. You can sort this by, rank. Alex Weatherall's the top ranked angler. I actually saw him down pre-practicing when I was fishing the Classic Bass Champions Tour, so he did put some time in scouting the river in the beginning of July before off limits. A lot of these guys are the guys that really need to catch them to save their seasons and be back next year. You can also look at own percentage. Matt Robertson getting a lot of love. He had a really good tournament at St. Clair. I've always been to the opinion that Steve Kennedy is not an angler I like to pick in fancy fishing because he does have a lot of upside, but there are times that he burns you. He's had some really good tournaments at La Crosse. He's also had some rough tournaments, but I'm in a position to gamble. So I'm going to take Steve Kennedy. great fond memories of him getting way back into some places and having some amazing frog events. Today is the day to roll the dice on Steve Kennedy. If you're looking for a safer pick, I'm not really sure who that is. Alex Weatherall says he likes river systems. Ike has a lot of experience here, but he's a little bit injured. I don't know. There's no really huge picks that scream to me in this bucket. But I'm going to go Steve Kennedy. Bucket D, Christie getting most of the love. Hackney getting a lot of love. Swindle has a pretty good track record up at Lacrosse. He's had a couple of tough tournaments, but quite a few good tournaments. Caleb Summerall likes to throw the frog, likes to get dirty. There's some good anglers here. Several anglers that have a decent amount of experience here. Milliken's in this bucket, so if you're a big Milliken fan, put your weight behind him. Pull for him this week. Cliff Pace has had some good tournaments. There's a lot of guys in here that have caught him decent. John Cruz, I remember him doing well in Goose Island back in the day. But I'm going to go Bo Browning. He had a good top 20 in the Bassmaster Open just 1 year ago. He's one of the young guys. He's good at the chatterbait. I'm pretty sure you can catch him on a frog, flipping. I just think these young guys do well in these tournaments. I'm going to hedge my bets and a good value pick at less than 5%. Bucket C, Polinick. He clinched an AOI here a couple years ago. He's had some good tournaments. Hunter Shryock had some good events here. Loves the frog, loves the buzzbait. Dakota Ebear did all right here in the Open. Tyler Rivette. Robert Gee, one of the guys that got locked out. I watched him dump like an 17, 18-pound bag of bass above the lock when he couldn't make the lock from pool 7. Randy Howell would have been in contention in the top 5 after day 2 if he didn't get locked out in pool 9. Andrew Loberg, solid event, West Coast guy, probably no familiar. Delta can probably throw the frog just fine. We saw him fish shallow at 10 killer do really well. He used the frog there. But I'm going to go Randy Howell. We're going to go flat top. I think he's going to make the run to pool 9. I think we're going to see some magic out of old Randy Howell this week. All right, Easton Fothergill, I think just missed the cut. Could be a really solid pick here. Brian Schmidt has won here before. Seth Feider has had a second here. Pat Schlopper putting in his homework. I've seen him on social media down there scouting. But, Caleb Kufal won 2 back-to-back BFL AOIs back in the day, so he's no stranger. A lot of good options here. Brock Mosley, Chatterbait, Cody Meyer, solid in the Open. And actually, you know what? He kind of Senko'd his way in the Black River to a top 10. I think he knows how to fish this river, and I'm pretty sure he's got some Major League Fishing FLW experience here as well. So we're going to go Cody Meyer, a little sneaky 1% pick here. But there's a lot of good choices in Bucket B. Bucket A, Trey McKinney and Chris Johnston tied for the lead in AOI coming to this event. Jay Shakurt has fallen out of graces, but he still should be good here. He's done well in tournaments here in the past. Kyle Welcher could be good here. John Cox, Patrick Walters. I feel like Corey Johnson, I'd probably stay away from him because if he's got juice, he's probably going to give it to Chris. Bill Lowen, up and down, but decent here. Tucker Smith did okay in the Open. Paul Marks, I think, top 10 in the Open if you're looking for some sneaky plays down there. But I'm going to go Jay Shakurt. Like, he's had some up and downs the last couple tournaments, but we're going to stick with our guy. And I think he may not win AOI, but I think he's going to at least keep him honest and make those other guys catch him. Let's do the pick'em game. First, I really looked at the pick'em here. McKinney versus Johnston. I know, honestly, McKinney can probably catch him anywhere. But I'm going to pick in Johnston because I want to see Johnston do well. Paul Mark versus Tucker Smith. I think Paul Marks has got a little more grit, but it wouldn't be surprising either one of these guys. Fighter versus Gustafson. Gussie's just having a tough year, so I got to go with the llama here. Evan Kung versus Brandon Lester. I see Brandon Lester catching him on a frog in Round Lake, and it's hard for me to pick against him. And Evan Kung had a pretty rough go of it in the Open. Shakurt versus Downey. I'm going to hedge my bets here. We're going to pick Jay Shakurt in the regular game, but we're going with old Bob in the pick'em just for fun. Brian Schmidt versus Swindle. Both of them have good history here. I'm going Schmitty. He's got more top end here, I think, potential. And Cox versus Hackney. I'm betting on the Phoenix over the Vexus this week. Let's head over to Drain the Lake and wrap up our fantasy fishing series for the season. I'm taking Bob Downey, Randy Howell, Caleb Kufal. We're going to go Wes Logan, Bill Lowen, Cody Meyer, Pat Schlopper, and old G-Man, the final pick of the season. So our roster for the Drain the Lake: Bob Downey, Randy Howell, Caleb Kufal, Wes Logan, Bill Lowen, Cody Meyer, Pat Schlopper, and Gerald Swindler. We got some we got some guys that can rat in here. Tiebreaker, I got it 71 pounds, 3 ounces. I think that 17 to 18 pounds a day is going to be really strong. We might see a few bags above that, but on average, if you can do 16 to 18 pounds a day, you're going to be right in the mix in this tournament. So this is your last chance to get Omnia Pro at 50% off with code HBPRO. And if you don't want to do that, you still want to support Omnia for helping out the channel and support the channel itself, you can use the code down in the description below to save yourself 15% off your next Omnia order and test out their great selection, super fast shipping, and great customer service. If you're just sick and tired of fancy fishing, you just want to see some good old absolute river lacrosse fishing, and just want to see a good old-fashioned tournament video, check out this video on the screen right here next.